Hello guys, TKG's here for your comfortable LostArk life. In this video, I'd like to cover one of this class engraving of the summoner. As the latest balance patches brought small changes of the summoner, so I thought it'd be great to share some of those infos for your LostArk journey. Now follow me, I'll show you what you need. Let's start with the basic of this video. The class engraving I'm going to cover in this video is Communication Overflow. Communication Overflow can be the true summoner concept, because the Communication Overflow is the class engraving that actually utilizing the summons during the gameplay. So the class engraving does enhance the damage, uptime, or the cooldown of the summon. Well, let's talk about those details later on this video. Communication Overflow summoner got slight buff on the class engraving. I mean slight buff on the summon's damage. And I think most of the buff was actually for the Master Summoner on the balance patch, because the skill structure was quite changed after the balance patch. If you already seen my Master Summoner video, right now the Summoner skill can be no longer bind to the attack power buff, as the self buff tripod on the Sticky Moss Swarm LC are gone. Instead, Summoner got the buff on the damage itself, so Summoner major skills can be utilized without the change of the attack power buff. Build of the summoner, especially the Communication Overflow summoner, wasn't changed that much. Actually, the build is fixed, so full swiftness with the critical stat is fixed to use in the actual gameplay. As the CO summoner are the consistent damaging class, so the full swiftness is quite efficient to use. And I think the KL community doesn't have that argument about this CO build right now. And of course the hallucination gear set is also fixed to use. I think most of the summoner players do use the Master Summoner class engraving as their main class engraving, maybe because the concept of CO summoner was quite misdesigned right now. As you can see on the engraving build, right now the CO summoner has a low efficient without the Master Summoner engraving. Without it, CO has definitely blocked high point, even with the CO friendly build. So mostly, and the community of the KR won't recommend the solo CO build so far. Kind of weird and sad. I know the second class engraving are the alternative of the most of the classes, but I think the CO is really considered as the alternative and the secondary class engraving. Well, back to the main part. Her engraving build can be summarized like this text box. Right now, the ceiling performance is actually the Master Summoner level 3 and +1 adrenals, compared to the level 1 Master Summoner is about 3%. So if you really have to squeeze to the ceiling performance, use the adrenals as a +1 engraving. Or if you're just waiting for the third awakening or super awakening, using the Master Summoner as a +1 engraving might be not a bad choice too. Communication Overflow Summoner is actually can do the consistent damage dealing during the gameplay. Also, as the CO Summoner build are based on Swift, so it has a quite comfortable gameplay. In addition, overall difficulty of the CO Summoner is quite low. You don't have to align the cooldown or waiting for some certain buff during the gameplay. More like you can use the skill when the cooldown complete. Unfortunately, you can't use the class engraving alone. CO Summoner actually does need the Master Summoner engraving support for the best or maybe decent efficiency. And of course, as I mentioned, using both class engraving is quite not that interesting for some players. And personally, I think CO Summoner is quite out of trend, or maybe it is out of sight. Core mechanic of the CO Summoner is, well, actually there's no such core mechanic of the CO Summoner. You can almost pick it up and play right away. Let me tell you more details on the skill composition section. Well, currently the CO Summoner build is separated into two parts. Our community calls this build as Champok or Majil build, Steel Charge, and the Electric Storm build. Actually, the Electric Storm build theoretically can do the better damage, about 3% than the Steel Charge build, but gotta be honest, Electric Storm on CO won't use the guidance tripod, so it can be a little bit hard to make a better performance during the actual gameplay. So in this video, I'll cover the Steel Charge build. I'll leave an Electric Storm through the comment below. And of course the Electric Storm and the Steel Charge are quite preference, so your skill build and composition can be different from which skill you value more. After the balance patch, Steel Charge value got boosted to almost like O's Collapse, and for the better stagger gimmicks, I'll say I'll do prefer more Steel Charge than the Electric Storm. Skill build of the CO Summoner can be summarized like this text box. Actually, using this build might make you short on MP, so you have to use the water elemental on the right time to recover some of your MP during the raid. Or you can change the third tripod of the surety to the MP recovery to offset that shortage. Or if you don't mind that much about that MP, you can use the thrilling light. Also, the Marine has some option to choose from. Third tripod elemental blessing or just communication. You can remove the cooldown gem by using the communication tripod, or you can just use the elemental blessing for the better damage performance. It is really slight difference, so you can choose it with your preference. Additionally, Ancient Spear also can use the first tripod to Ancient Judgment. Both tripod damage differences is about 1 to 2%, so you can also choose it from by your preference. And using the Ancient Elemental Identity, then the surety is slightly higher. Identity has a risk on your aiming and making effective hit, but the damage is slightly better. Surety is a passive without aiming risk, so I gotta be honest, this thing is also preference. Awakening skill is Calcium as you expect. As the CO class Engraving has some buff on the summons, so you can use the Calcium as your main awakening skill. Long casting time is a great disadvantage of the summoner, but some of the casting can be cancelled with some tricks. Like the Ancient Spear has a long casting time and a big jump at the end, right? That jump can be cancelled. Use casting or just using the skill can cancel that jump. Use the Ancient Spear as normal before the jump. Using the skill can cancel the jump motion but rain down the spear as normal. So with this trick, you can use the Ancient Spear but skip the motion and move on to the next skill circulation faster. Grouping the skill can align the skill cooldown, but the problem is that it is quite hard to jump cancel with the steed charge. So try to use the Ancient Spear as priority and use the other skills with your judgment and flexibility. ArkㅅBUILD is theoretically stronger than any other identity on Summoner, but the differences is really slightly different. So use Alimarj, Jahia, ArkㅅBUILD as your preference when you're playing as a CO Summoner. Skill combo of the CO Summoner can be summarized like the text box. Well, actually the skill combo of the Summoner is really a reference. You need to use the skill with more flexibility by understanding each specialty of the skill. And literally, you can make one of your own combo. Rough sketch of the Summoner skill combo can be like this, but you need to use the skill on flexibility with your own decision when you're playing as a CO Summoner. So try to remember this big frame of the Summoner and use the skill well on many different situations. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching everyone, and always thanks for your big support. Hope this video was a little helped for your LostArk journey. Hope you do well with your Summoner with this video. And of course, if you like my videos, hit the sub for more upcoming infos. I'll come back with more useful infos in the next video.